The eye sees, but there's more than what meets the eye. Lots more. Consider a tree. It's tall, strong, and bears fruit. Yet below there are roots as much below as you see above. So there are things seen and unseen. All realms have unseen forces, busy working every day, all around. The wind is unseen, yet can topple a tree, and there are many elements to any realm. Creatures of the realms depend on these unseen forces for everything. Yet sometimes the higher intellects are the first to forget the unseen. Do not trust your eyes only, or you would possibly never meet a fairy busy at their work. Long before Mars and Venus failed, these unseen forces began moving energy from Mars and Venus and the Earth to form the sanctuary realm to provide the remnant a second chance. The three sisters worked together to provide a desperate need. After Mars and Venus failed, the urgency of the situation required some unusual method. The unseen elements were much more visible and active than normally allowed. The smallest and largest were all aware of the elementals, the fairies, and many more entities normally reserved for our imagination. Perhaps this transparency had somehow changed how these worlds evolved. As the Raven, it was a bit shocking to see that the fairies sitting on Mars, playing their reeds and singing the songs. The mushrooms with the spores flying about much more visibly than anywhere I had encountered. The ring of auras was unavailable to help in building this realm. It was missing. So other measurements were employed. Dragas had the ring, it was rumored. And if he did have it, prior to his defeat, then why didn't it save Mars? The nature of the Ring of Ores is not completely known. Its power seems to be infinite, but not enough to save Dragas. So perhaps such a ring might in itself have unseen qualities. My plan was to seek out these unseen forces in this realm. The fairies on the mast are still singing. I fluttered closer by a brook. I listened to the fairies closely, trying to remain unseen. Fairies aren't fond of conversation, as it's hard to speak and play their tune. They sing the forest to sleep. They wake up the crickets who join in the chorus, and certainly, if you haven't seen a fairy, you certainly have heard their songs. The wood is filled as a concert hall, and music is frequency, and sound is an elemental force. The songs are real, and they bear very tangible fruit, as do the trees, shrubs, the woodland creatures too. The unseen perhaps can shed light to be seen. The music was foreboding this evening. Heaviness was apparent. The clouds of dissonance were forming. The thunder was in the distance, and the birds of the air were swirling above the trees. It was then that one of the fairies stopped and put down her reed, and her glare met my own innocent gaze. I spoke briefly with her, and she agreed to take me to her queen. Perhaps she wasn't comfortable talking to a raven. She did not know. She was pleasant, but a bit terse, and as we flew past a ravine where a mossy rock lay near the brook and a large fallen tree. The base of the fallen tree was quite large, so large that I would not see above its rim. An emerald stone covered in moss pointed the way to a large, bright night stool, a mushroom. The mushroom was crimson and cream, specks of light pink. It was here the fairy's queen appeared. It was much larger than the sprite that led me here, and the thunder was louder and closer. The fairy queen motioned gracefully to come inside. Inside the stool was an elaborate hall with tables set with silk, and she offered me tea as the sprite quietly swished away to her duty. The evening was upon the wood, and light rain could be heard against the bark of the fallen tree. I cannot reveal the entirety of our conversation, but I did manage to state several of my concerns to the fairy. It was the Queen's assistance that led me to a large cedar, very stately cedar tree. Its color was light, lighter than most. Its trunk was thick, and the branches bright, and they began to tremble. Soon, a noisy chipmunk scurried from the branch. The chipmunk did not see me. She nervously looked up and then down and grabbed some seeds and was busy eating the seeds and glanced furtively for hawks, I suppose. I spoke to the chipmunk softly. I asked if she lived nearby. At first, she was still unsure that she should run or stay. Again, I spoke softly to her. I assured her I had just had tea with the Fairy Queen and was not in the least hungry. Certainly not enough to battle a chipmunk for my supper. She relaxed a bit, but looking in every direction, she quickly asked me who I was. And she was in wonder that a raven could speak in such a mannered tongue. She motioned with her tail to follow her. She scampered up the cedar, and I fluttered as she darted from limb to limb. Near the cedar's crown, there was a nest. The chipmunk bid me to join her, and she offered me seeds, and we ate the most delicious seeds till we began to laugh. And the night was upon us, certainly by now. She was settled for the night. The rain had passed, and now the moon was 3/4 full, a cream tart against the velvet sky. The clouds were soft and still, and the fairies had begun an overture with the frogs, the crickets, and the owls. The chipmunk told me I should call her Armella. The name was chosen by her mother long ago. She had disappeared, leaving Armella to fend for herself. Armella was still young, but she had learned well the wisdom of the wood. Some of the stories she shared spoke of many hardships, but none that she hadn't borne well enough. The autumn was near, and Armella was preparing for winter. I told her also of my concern. She was kind enough to tell me of a kind one she had met in the spring. This kind one knew many of the secrets of this wood, she assured me. Indeed, I thanked her and flew to my nest that I was still working on. I did not gather much straw, but in my first day in this round, had not been without some success indeed. I wasn't merely looking for the ring of ores for sport. It was more important to find the principals who were looking for it as well, and to be certain that if either of us found it, that it would be myself before the others. Not only was it a race to find this infinitely powerful ring, that would provide the bearer the power to do wondrous things. Immense power. It must come with great responsibility. But to add to that, the fact that the sacred cycle was certainly nearing its completion. And so far, neither the Earth, Venus, or Mars could claim a successful turn on the investment. It could be in a moment, in a twinkling, or it could be a millennia. The sacred cycle, known only to the original creator, the founder of the realm, the power that decides what lives, what dies. And so, none of us have unlimited time, at least not in the original realm. It seems that has to be earned. And so far, all three sisters are lacking. But the Ring of Ores could make the difference for whoever